Welcome back to this video. In the last video, we are trying to make this quiz app, right? We just use a list and a variable and we try to add a few functionality of true or false, etc. We did fine. But in this video, let's make this code modular, make this code look easy and simple. And instead of storing everything, I mean the logic, UI, everything here, let's try to make this abstract. Let's use the four pillars of the object oriented, that is abstract, polymorphism, inheritance, and encapsulation properly. Okay, before that, I was telling or I was teaching you people in the last class that if there is an extra property here, you just have to create one more list, right? And mapping it with the each question to answer with the another list, it's not proper. If you have another way where you can store a question and answer together, that will be more proper. And how can we can do or achieve that using a class. So I would recommend you people go and watch the Dart course where I have thought about classes. What is this class? Classes are nothing but a simple, it's like a blueprint. Let's imagine you are building a car or you are building any buildings or something. They usually have this blueprint. Why do they have this blueprint is, let's say you are building a house. If you observe a houses nearby your home only, there will be tons of houses with a different architecture, different way of structure, different way of the placing of the each and every segment, right? Even every house has a common things, like every house has the the rooms. They have their rooms, they have their kitchen, they have their washrooms. These are the basic things they have. These are called as blueprint are like the basic necessary things that each and every house have. But they had little difference, like actual house. If you see, they might have two rooms. They might have maybe extra, like a swimming pool extra to their home. What they are doing is, every house has a basic blueprint that is nothing but a class. But objects are nothing but an which is generated. This is an instance from the uh, classes. So let's go back to the Dart pad and let's see what is it. Okay, let's remove this unnecessary code. Okay, I was teaching you people about this class and the object. So as I told, class are like a just blueprint. You have to remember these are blueprint. Let's say if you have this car and every car can able to drive, every car has a four wheels, every car has a mirror, but there's a little changes between each car. Maybe one car has a super cool AC or extra music player system, or it has an AI implemented to that, that is AI voice assistant, or one car could be an electric vehicle. If you could observe, everything has a basic thing, but it might differ in the few property, and that actual property is called object. Okay, the actual property or the actual object is called as an object. So class is like a blueprint. Let's say it is a sketched one. You are just saying every car will have a four wheels. Fine. Okay, using that, okay, every car will have a four wheels. Let's say Tesla also has a four wheels, but it is an electric vehicle, right? If you take the same way, other vehicle, it also have the four wheels, but it might have an good reformed engine to it, or let's say a better feature. Okay, we are just using a class. Using that blueprint, we are just enhancing or making the actual property or the object better. So let's see how do we create this class. So to create class, we'll use a keyword class, and class followed by the name of the class always start with the uppercase. Let's give a name to the class called car. Okay, this is not a method. It's just followed with the class, which is followed by the the curly braces inside the car, which is nothing but a class. Class either takes a properties and it will take a method. What is this property? Properties are basically a variables. It can store the variable. Methods are nothing but a functions, and it will also have a default method that is nothing but a constructors. Usually whenever we call the this class, the constructor will be executed. Okay, so let's see this one by one. So let's create a normal car. Usually the normal car will have a, what it will have? It will have a number of wheels, and this is nothing but a property. Properties are nothing but, it's just a variable. How do we create a method? Method is nothing but it's a function. Let's say every car can able to drive. So let's create a method called drive, which inside that let's print as car is about to start. Okay, and I also told it has a default method called constructor. Constructors are nothing but a default function, or whenever you call this car, this constructor will be called. It has the same name as a class name. Okay, let's say this constructor can take an input. So when if you're trying to call this, it takes a input. The constructor main advantage is it can take up the input, just like if you remember the function where we have a parenthesis, because it can take up the the inputs. What inputs? As I told, maybe the let's create one more variable like name for a car, which might be differ, right? We don't have same name. So in the constructor, when they call the constructor, let's try to print it. We want this is nothing but, which is referring to the variable up here, dot, which has a two property name. Okay, which takes up the name. But let's try to print the name, and I can just use the interpolation, that is use the dollar sign between the strings. Okay, and let's initialize this value, number of wheels. Usually there will be 4, and let's try to print the number of wheels also. There is nothing but, I'll just try to copy this, paste it here. Okay, here we are. So what did we do? We just created a car. It's a blueprint. It is saying every car will have a number of wheel, that is 4. But every name of the car will be different. So to give a name accordingly, like if you are trying to create a car which is a supercars, you can give a name to car as a supercars, and that is left for the whoever it is creating. So that's why we use a constructor. Constructor has a fully capability to take the inputs, because name of the car won't be same, right? So it is just giving a flexibility where you can give a name, and every car will have a property to ride. It can drive, right? So this is how you create a class. Then how do we create this object? What is this object is? We are just using the template of this car. You are telling, okay, if I am creating a car, these are the few things that should be that is like must the car should have. Using that, let's say I am creating a supercar. Okay. How do we create an object is, first it takes the type. Type is nothing but what type of data that you are storing. I'm storing a data that is like a car. So the type of the object that I'm creating is car, and let's give a name to that. Let's say supercar, and I'm creating an object of the class from this. So I'm just saying I'm creating an object, that is I'm using a class called car, which means that you're actually you're creating an instance of this class. Okay, and it is throwing a red color line here because it is asking one positional argument is expected. As I told, when I write car, by default it is going to call this constructor, and it is expecting us to pass some name to it, and that name we are basically, that is, we are given an int which is wrong. The name should be always string, so let's change that. So let's write that name as let's name it as a supercar 1 only, who cares. Okay, now if I try to print supercar, and if I try to run, let's say make sure you end the semicolon. So what will be executed? You can see in the screen, when I call supercar, the new object is created with the name of supercar. So it will go inside this car. The these two variables will be initialized, so it is fine. Next it will go to drive. So whenever I called, okay, it is done. But see, instead of it is printing it directly, it has told instance of car, because we have never called this drive method. We are just using just trying to call this. But it is printing the car, the constructor, because we have given a name and also wheels. Now I can just write, again I can print again, and I can try to call the method called dot drive. Drive is a method. You can just call it. And it's a void. Basically you can just write supercar. You don't have to call, because you are not returning or you are not getting anything. It's not passing any argument, that's why. If I print now, in the second print statement, you can see the print of the car will be about to. Okay, we got this output because we are trying to print it again. We can just call the thing. I'll just remove this print statement, because inside the drive you can see it is printing already, so you don't want to print it again. I'll just write supercar.drive, which nothing but it calls the method. I'll just run the here we got the output. So I'll just remove this to avoid the confusion. So I've created a supercar object. Whenever I want to access anything like a method or a name or number of wheels, we have to use the same object name, and by using a dot notation I can say I want a drive method, where inside drive method it is printing car is about to start. I hope you understand about the class. Using the same concept, let's try to do that or implement in the app. Okay, let's see how can we implement this. Let's create a blueprint for this quiz app. Every quiz app has two things. One is question, and we want answer to that question, right? Just make sure it comes back. Click on the profile. Okay, now let's begin with creating a template for it. What is the template? We are basically creating a class. Let's go in the lib, create a dot file. Let us name that as quiz, or let it be a question, or like quiz question, who cares. Okay, here we are creating a simple class called quiz questions. In this class, what we are doing, we are keeping all the possible templates. Each quiz should have a question and answer. So it should have a question that is nothing but a string, question text, okay, and it should also have a answer that is a boolean, that is true or false, that is an answer text. So you are giving a type to that, and also you are giving a variable to it. Fine. Next, every time when I call this class, I want a default constructor. Inside this default constructor, what I'll do, I'll pass an input. Every time I call, I want the input to be projected. What are the input? I want this dot question text first, then I want this dot answer text. Probably you might now it is 2. After if there is more than 2 variables, if there's more than that, we might we also tend to use the named parameter. What is this name parameter is? Instead of using like this, I can just write a curly braces and make sure each variable is either required or it is question mark, I mean which is nullable. It is recommended you people go and refer the basic concept that I've taught. So when I try to use this name parameter, right, whenever I call this constructor, have to name the question text, which each name have to pass the data. Okay, for now let it be a normal. Let it be like whenever I call, I'll just pass the data. First is a question text, then I'll pass the answer text. So I'll create one more dat file which can hold up my data. What is data? All my questions and all the property and method I can perform on this. So let's call that as a question bank. And let's name that class as a question bank only. Question bank. Okay. Here let's store all the questions that we have. Let's go back here to the main. We have stored the questions, right? Let's copy this, come back to the quiz question bank, paste it here. In this class we are storing a list which has lot of questions. Let's name that as a quiz 1. Okay. Why we are using this way or this pattern? Because you can directly have done here, but we are using here because we want to keep it proper structured. And if you do in a proper or a modular way, what we are basically doing is, if you could observe, we are trying to keep all this logical things outside from this UI. We are basically abstracting everything. The one of the main concept of C. Okay, let's go back to the question bank. We have stored all the list of data. Now the next thing what we want to do is, since it's and also make sure this list what we are doing now, it is not string. Let's just remove this. We just copied it. Okay, I'll explain it again. Listen, inside this question bank, we are trying to store or call the class. We are basically using this class and we are storing everything. So let's create a list which is able to get a data that is like a question bank, which is a type of that. Let's name this as a quiz 1, which is an array. Inside this array we are basically storing all the data. How do we call this all data? We already have a template, right? That question bank. Each question it's a question bank, sorry, it's a quiz question. Okay, go back here, it's a quiz question, so it will be imported. So each quiz question, if I call, it's an constructor. See here, what did we do is, we have created a class, and each time when we call this class, the constructor will be defaultly been called, right? So when I use this quiz question, and inside that I'm trying to store all the questions. Okay, what did we just do is, we called the constructor that we have created. So first we have created a class which is nothing but a template. So we basically created a template. Whenever we store a quiz question, it will have a question and it will have an answer to it. So by this we are keeping both question and answer together. Done. So we came back, we have created one more class. This class will usually hold up all the data. So here when we use this quiz question, we are trying to keep all the question and answer together. We solved one question. If you could see here, we kept the two lists separately, right? But if you could observe in the question bank, what we have created, where we are keeping both the data together, and we made that as a list. Done. We made this as a list. So let's go back to the main dot. We'll just remove both the list. Now let's create an object. How to create an object? It is super simple. First we have to tell what type you are doing, what type of class you are doing. What we want this question bank. So I'll just write I want a question bank, and when I click on the question bank, that package will be imported. Okay, if you go up here, the question bank is imported. See, later I have to give object a name. Let's say question bank 1. Okay, let's name it as a question bank 1, and I have to create an object. How to create an object? By calling that class. So you are telling I'm creating an instance of the class question bank. So when I do, I am able to create an object, and every time when I want to access anything from the question bank, I have to use this variable question bank 1. Okay, now I got few errors. For now, let's remove this method because I'll tell you where it caused the error. Just come back down here, remove all this. Okay, I'll just fill up the text what you are seeing. I'll just remove this. Okay, let's go back here. I can able to access an object or the class that is called question bank 1. This is the variable I have given. So I'll write question bank 1. Okay, and what we want, if you go back to question bank 1, what we want from the question bank 1, we want to access this quiz 1, right? How can we access? Using a dot notation. I'll just go back, I'll use quiz 1, and inside this quiz 1, if you see, it is basically, where is this question? Inside this quiz bank, if you see, it is an array. I mean, it's a list. How to access each element? Using an index, right? So I can just use an index that is nothing but a question number, and if I hit save, okay, we got each element, but what we want here is the question. We got an index under basically when you write, you got this whole thing, right? But what we want in specific, we just want this first text that is nothing but a question text. So if I use dot notation again, I'll get a question text. I can just copy this. Done. Okay, if I just reload it, instead of if I just change the question number and check whether it is actually working, yeah, it is working fine. You don't have to worry. Okay, this is fine. If you check, if you go and see this on click thing, where I'm able to like whenever I click on this button, I have to check whether it is in the correct condition, then I have to add a score. And this method, we should not keep all these methods or whatever the things here, because I'll tell you the encapsulation concept comes here. Let's say the question number is here, and I can directly manipulate what question number I can change it here, right? So keeping the question number here is not a valid point. So let's remove this question number and try to keep that there. Just go back to question bank. Let's create a variable called int, called as a question number, make it as initialize 0. So what we are doing is, we want every logic, like I mean calling this string, I mean title, or checking if this answer is correct, everything should be done here, and only UI to be here. Okay, so first thing, what did we do? We removed this question number. The moment when we remove this question number variable from the main file, and we kept or stored it here, we can only access this number here, right? So I can create a method where I can use this question number and get the questions to them. How can I do it? By creating a method called void, and I want to get what? I want to get a question, and if I want to get or return the question, I can't use a void. What is the question? It is a string. So I want to return a string. Return type will be string, because I want to return this question to the main file whenever they call this. I want to return what? I want to return a quiz1 dot, quiz1 and of index question number dot question text. This how I return it. So if I go back to the main file, I can just remove the whole thing. I don't want to access the quiz1 and all. I can just write I want to get a question. If I just reload it, I can simply get a question. Clear? But again there's a problem. What is this problem? I'll tell you. See, I can just go here and I can say question bank. Let's say if there's a checkbox only or any, okay, let's try it here only. Question bank dot, I'm able to get the question number, right? I can easily get the question number anywhere, anytime, and I can just easily manipulate to the number I wanted. Okay, I can easily do it. Let's keep it as a, let's go inside this and let's say I want a question bank. I can easily access the question bank. See, from an user perspective or any developer or from the main file, I can easily able to access the question bank easily, and I can easily go into the question bank and I can manipulate it. See, when I click on the true, I want that question to be moved from 0 to 2. So I'll try to do it. If I click, it easily moves to the question 2, which is wrong. We should not enable. This is an encapsulation. We have to protect our data. We have to protect what we have kept here. If you could easily able to access and modify here, then what's the use of keeping it separate? So in order to keep this safe, we just have to make this both number and also the quiz library private. How to make it private? By just adding a small dash in front of the name, which makes it private. So if I go back to main, which throws an error because we can't directly access it. It throws an error because we can't directly access those things. Okay, fine. Everything is done. We are only left with a function to check whether if the answer is correct or wrong. Okay, let's go back to the question bank. Here also it is throwing error because we have to tell it's a private thing and we have to mention it is a private. We got the question. Let's try to create a method which also returns us the answer, and let's say return, it is from a quiz 1 with the question depending, and we'll get a answer text. The next thing what we want to do is we want to check whether the user answer that they are giving is correct or not. Based on that, we just have to check. We have to add this scorekeeper, and here there's a throwing error because answer are boolean, not a string. Okay, we'll create a function called whatever we did in the last video. We are doing same here because we can able to access it fast. We are checking the answer. To check the answer, we have to know what they have clicked, right? We want to get to know their choice. So we want a boolean that tells the user choice, which means if they clicked on the true button, the user's choice will be true. If it is false, false button. So based on that, let's check. Before that, we also have to make sure are they in the is the quiz number and the quiz length are in the same, to avoid the range of error. Clear? If the question number is less than quiz1 dot length, if it is less than, we want to execute, we want to do what? We want to check the answer, then we want to increment. Let's first check the answer. How do we check? We will tell if the user choice, if it is equals, sorry, it's not user choice, it's a quiz1 dot quiz1 of, sorry, it's a get answer is equals to user choice. If it is equals, then what we want to do, then we want to add an icon. So you can't manipulate the UI, that is UI is nothing but you are adding it to the UI, right? So instead of us adding the icon, I can just write return true. Okay, so basically returning it. Since we can't manipulate UI here, we'll just only check if it we are able to move to the if the answer is finished or not. So if the answer is finished, to know it, we can just write if it is less than equals to, then I can just return true, else I can just return false. And I have to make sure it is not void, it's a boolean. So what did we do is, first we have to check whether the answer is true or false, right? We can't directly manipulate the icons here. So from here I can just send whether the question number, the length of that question number is finished or not. If you come back here, we still have this code. Let's uncomment it. I have to replace it few things like, I have to just write a quiz bank 1 dot, we have to get an answer. From that we'll get an correct answer. Here you don't have to check. We can just use if that finished, whatever the method that we have created, right? Check answer, or let it be if finished. Let's use if it is true. If the answer is finished, it have to loop it, or else it have to let's remove this and let's use the thing. If the question quiz dot is finished, we got this as a true, which means that a question is already completed. What we have to do, we have to first set the question, we first have to reset the question, and we have to make the score, the score keeper as 0. That is nothing but just to clear the thing. And next we have to reset the question number. So we don't have direct access to the question number, so I can just create one more method called reset. I'll just go it here. I'll set a reset method. What it basically does is, it does a question number becomes 0. Okay, I can't directly use this question number, right? I'll just go here. What I'll write quizbank dot reset, which means the question will be reset to 0, and it have to be done after little delay, right? I'll just write, either I can use a delay, or you can just use a alert question dot delay const duration, which of milliseconds, let's write like a 15. Okay, and it takes a callback function. I'll return this to be done. Okay, if it becomes true, it will follow this. Let's imagine if it is not true, if it is false, then what we have to do, we just have to increment the each text, and also we have to check whether it is right. So what we will do, first we'll check if the answer is correct or not. If the correct answer is equals to the user answer is nothing but the answer that we get here. We'll just go here, true, we'll just enable this, or false. Okay, if it is correct, if the correct answer equals to correct, we just have to insert for the scorekeeper, we just have to just copy the same icon, we just have to add that icon to here. Okay, else this little error, make sure you end the each statement. Else if it is not correct, I just have to replace with the close icon. I'll just copy the same thing, come down here, paste it. Okay, the moment after this if or else condition is done, what I have to do, I have to just increment the question. How do I just increment the question? To increment the question, we have to know where we should have we should be access with the question number. Since we have only access here, so what I can just, I'll create one more variable called next question. Here what I'll do, I'll first check if the question is less than the question, the quiz number dot the length what it is there, is this less than the question number. If it is less than the question number only, I just want the question number to be incremented, and I'll use this method right after the each check is done. I'll just write a quiz bank dot, I'll just write question, next question should be accessed. So let's refresh the everything. Let's drag it up here. And let's try if it working. Yes, it's working. But if you could see here, for every true it is giving there's a little error. Let's see where it is. Just refresh it again. The error is because here we didn't tell what to do. We just printed the score, right? Make sure it is added to the list of scorekeeper in the item. Okay, now let's see if it works. Just reload it again. Okay. The mistake that we can see here is whenever I click on a true, we are getting tick mark, and whenever I click on a cross, it is tick mark. The major mistake that we did here is, as I told, quiz length, it will be always it will be an index number which is always been less, okay, but quiz number will be always starts with 1, so we have to make sure it is less than 1. And also here also the length what you are seeing, it should be less than 1. So in the both the condition, the quiz length will be usually larger, so make sure the quiz length is -1. So reload it. Now it works fine. Because of the small mistake, as I told, can lead to anything. See, we are getting after 15 seconds it will be refreshed to the normal, it goes back to the normal thing, because we have kept a future delay, right, which takes a 15 seconds. So instead of that you can just keep the 10 second also, or the good experience is you just have to load it for the, you just have to get an alert that, as I told you, it also work. Yeah.